Howdy ho, friends and foes, and welcome to Dad's on Life, your weekly episode show about parenting from a male perspective. I'm your host, Jay Miles, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts Keith Bogan,
Hello, sir.
Chad Holloway,
Good afternoon.
Doug Hamadike,
Howdy.
and Vince Quartararo.
How's it going?
Today, we're going to be talking about an article and the ideas in it that came out earlier this week, in which a feminist by the name of Jill Filipovich made a lengthy commentary about stay-at-home parents, stay-at-home moms. It was directed at, more or less. And she basically essentially trashed the idea of being a stay-at-home parent, stay-at-home mom, deciding to quit your job to stay home to raise your kids. One of the caveats to that being the stigma towards both towards being a stay-at-home mom and as opposed being a stay-at-home dad, which in some houses that is the case as well. Plus, there's the element of bringing in COVID-19 and the situation we're in currently, which is now a year on. We are now over a year of being in this situation. So who wants to kick us off? Doug, you're the one who posted the article. Let me throw you under the bus. There you go.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about that. Yeah, I didn't. Well, just to preface this a little bit, at least, yes, I did read this article at 2:30 this morning and did share it with the group and did have some fine feelings at 2:30 this morning. Though I would have liked to gone back and reread it. I mean, there was a lot of points on both sides that she made, and ones that I didn't agree with, and ones that I could have said, "Hey, I understand what she's trying to say here."
Right.
But I mean, I didn't take it as well as the person that was writing the article, what their point of view was. That was not my point of view either. But it is the article that I did send, and I just sent it so we could discuss it further. With that said, yeah, stay-at-home moms. I think it's one of those things that in today's society is, like more or less a dying breed for one reason or another, whether it's financially, that now we need to financially have houses to keep them over our heads with dual incomes. But it's also the idea that a lot of people like preface their kids and say things like, "Oh, how to watch my kids today," or the work or whatever, when really it's a joy to have children, or it should be. At the same time, it's like there's a lot lost by the mom now not being at home. Now,
Right.
something that Jason had mentioned is that the difference between either a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. And I think that together they work as a great core team. But mothers do provide children with a different nurturing than a father can. And I think that dads have different roles, and also just the way that we're made and the way that we feel strongly about different things are very different than what a mother, how she handles things. I mean, you could clearly tell by the way you work together as you've had children, that you're like, hey, this is not how my wife would have handled it or whatever. So I think that it's a serious thing that, there's something that probably we could never get back. But at the same time, the stigmatism of the feminist movement and, saying that women, going out and, need to work and all, but also kind of putting like a negative spin on people that do stay home is also an issue that reoccurs in our society, since then. So Is it important? Yes. And I think as a family thing, is it, and we've been blessed that my wife has been able to work from home, which is a different thing that Jason mentioned. And during the COVID time, yes, a lot of people were able to work from home. But work from home and being a stay-at-home mom are, I think, two different things. You know, I mean, we've been like I said, for the past 6 years, my wife, it's been great because yes, she's here when they come home. She takes them to school in the morning and has that time with them. She up until now has done all the like doctor visits and all because it's just accessible for her. I work in New Jersey. Everything else here is in Pennsylvania, so it just works out that way.
Right.
But I think the bonding with your children thing is important, and it's something that you can only achieve if you were a stay-at-home mom versus working from home. It's closely tied, but not exactly the same. But also, we don't see this society today either, where we're living on a farm and stuff. So some of those different nuances come into play. But I don't know. That's generally what I was trying to get across.
Well, there's one thing that let me bring up first before we go on, is you have you have stereotypical portrayals of stay-at-home moms on TV, which is the idea that they sit on their couch and sit there and eat bonbons like Peg Bundy.
Peggy Bundy.
There is that stereotype. It is the case. I mean, that's what. That is a very stereotypical portrayal of stay-at-home moms. Now, I don't think that Jill is wrong. It's her opinion. It's a very interesting, and I will say very well thought out opinion. Jill's a very smart woman, and is actually very open-minded when it comes to, yes, she may lean a certain way, but she is very open-minded to a lot of things. I would call her pragmatic in a lot of what she says, but obviously strongly feminist viewpoints. But there's a lot of layers in this that we'll get into next hour or so.
So I guess I would just like to pick up and say, to me, it doesn't matter if somebody wants to be a stay-at-home mom or not. It's really their personal choice, and for somebody to say that they shouldn't do that is, that's that person's opinion. But to each their own. Everybody should be able to do what makes them happy, and there are various reasons I think to be a stay-at-home mom or dad, and in our little community here. So there are probably more stay-at-home moms than not. And I think most of them take pride in being a stay-at-home mom, and that they are able to take care of their kids, take care of their families, take care of the house, and really manage kind of half of the life, if you will, while their husband is out making the money, right? I mean, it's just an agreement that they came to, and it seems to work for many people. I don't have a problem with that. Now, Frankie's mom, my son's mother, and I agreed that what would happen is that she would stay home until he went to school. So from the time he was born, needed kind of the infant care and those kinds of things, and kind of had that early years up until probably 5 or 6 years old. His mom stayed at home with him and was able to have good time with him, which I don't think she would trade for anything. And I think I think it added benefit to his life as well. And then she decided to go back to work after that. And that was kind of plan. So, and that's fine. I mean, again, it's what people want and how people want to organize it, because it's not easy staying home with a kid or with kids all the time. And, especially that age. I mean, people need that adult interaction, and they need to get that either, put a special effort on it with their spouse, or to put an effort on it with their friends, or perhaps to return back to work, or to work part-time even. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I think it's what people want to do. I think there's some pros and cons on both sides. Are you going to make the same kind of money if somebody is staying at home? No. Two income family makes more money, certainly, but then there's some other maybe intangible benefits that come from somebody staying at home and staying with the kids. But hey, it's everybody's choice. To me, I don't care. Um, and speaking about my life, my mom worked her butt off, and luckily my grandma was not working at the time, and so she would spend a lot of time with my sister and me, taking care of us, help my mom with the house, doing some laundry, maybe cooking dinner, whatever it is. But she'd come over for a few hours a day, meet us after school, um, and that worked out pretty good for us as well. But I also have some buddies, two guys, who were stay-at-home dads, and I think they really enjoyed that. Now, and to Doug's point earlier about how they do different things, stay-at-home moms and dads do different things. These guys were out building what they call zip lines in the backyard, climbing walls, they're really kind of outdoor adventure guys, both of them. And but they did, they had no problem at all staying home with the kids. They loved it. And in one case, they had, I want to say they have 5 kids. So it probably made sense for somebody to stay home, because when you look at again,
Yeah, that's
that probably makes more sense for somebody to stay home and to do that. And their plan, she was in the military, so their plan was she was going to retire from the military, which she did several years ago at a relatively young age, in her 40s, and now they're kind of living out free and clear. So it worked out very good for them, I think. So, but anyway, I think it's whatever people want to do, and it can work for you. Everything can work, right? But it's what people want to do.
well, in my case, my mother was a stay-at-home mom. But that, I mean, my father ran a business at really, he was a vice president in a company first, and then quit there, and then opened his own business 2 hours away. So there were times where I wouldn't see my father for a week because of times during, busy seasons and busy times during work. My mother went back to work, and actually not even went back to work. My mother and father opened the place we own now when I was 12 or 13. It was shut down for a little while. My mother came back home, and then went back again because they were allowed to reopen after the lawsuit went out of after the agreement ended. And my father was able to reopen his factory in Elizabeth. But she has said that she wouldn't give that time back for anything in the world. And then during that time, right at the end of that time, it was just me and her for a lot of it, because my sister had started to go to college at that point, being 6.5 years older than me. Like the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that my mother was home. My sister was gone, so like I said, it was just me and her. So it was, like I said, she said she wouldn't change any of it for the world. And I mean, I'm by no means perfect at all, not even close. But I think for the most part, I've made my mistakes, but turned out okay. And the situation worked out good. Now, in this time, hopefully, which will come to an end shortly, I believe, could be within the next couple of months. May not be fully till September, but for the most part, I think we'll get into another change soon, where my wife will finally be able to get her stuff back to normal and get back to working from work. Unfortunately, with COVID, she can't really work that much because the kids are here, except for 2 half days a week. So it's been a long road this last year, but she's been through a lot, but I think for the most part, she maybe wouldn't have wanted it to go quite the way it did, or be as long as it was. But I don't think Elise would really change much of it. She may, say her piece a lot often, but I don't think she would.
I am the only non-partnered guy in the room, so I can only draw on the experience of what I saw happen with my parents. And to a certain extent, from my marriage that has since dissolved. I definitely watched my parents. My mother was the stay-at-home mom. My dad brought home all the money. In later years, my mother took a crack at being a travel agent, which allowed us to travel very cheaply on a couple of family vacations. But the relationship was always unequal because of it. And I never really thought about it much because it's been so many years now, but I'm sure my father had a thing about he always had to be right. He always had to be in control. And I'm sure a lot of it came from he brought home the money, so he felt like he made all the decisions. And it definitely caused a lot of emotional angst between them. They always stayed together, but there was a lot of challenge there for sure. And I didn't like the model they set. And yet, when I got married, my wife and I decided that she would be a stay-at-home mom. The difference was that from the beginning, she had all these great plans about running into businesses out of the house that she could do while she was, taking care of the kids. And but she floundered in those businesses. We'll just call it that way. I mean, she always enjoyed what she did, but she never made any money. Sold Lennox on eBay for a while. She became a Tastefully Simple consultant and sold spices and puddings and such for a while. For a lot, she did that for 13 years. Never made any money. She never did anything more than break even. So it was a big time suck for those things, but it wasn't contributory to the house, and that led to a lot of very, very challenging disagreements over finances, and I'm sure that was a major factor in our divorce. But the thing that I'm thinking about the most, because I'm an HR guy, and I think about the public's viewpoint of people who have chosen to stay at home and raise kids, and how different it is from a recruiter's perspective. If we get a resume from somebody who's a woman who identifies a period of time where she left the workforce, stayed at home, now she wants to return, we're concerned over things about diminishing skills and are you rusty and all that. And we're perfectly happy to think about hiring, but we're going to hire them at a very low rate. But if we get a resume from a guy under the same circumstances, the opinion is always, oh, you couldn't find a job for that for 2 years, could you? You couldn't find a job for 5 years. They're automatically convicted in the recruiter's mind of, come on, you weren't really a stay-at-home parent. It was more, yeah, I guess you didn't work for a while and you're trying to cover your tracks. The way candidates are treated is so discriminatory between the genders. Based on that, it's remarkable. I mean, it's hard enough for a woman to leave the workforce, raise kids, and then come back. That's hard. And there's a whole suite of skills you have to go through and ways of networking to try to get back into a job. For women, it's very challenging, but it's almost worse for men. And I'm not comparing the two per se, but like the world laughs at a man. No matter what, if you say you were raising the kids, bullshit. It's not real. You just couldn't find a job. So it's a very disparate treatment. They're a very different type of treatment between the genders.
Yeah, I appreciate bringing that aspect up, because especially the stigma put onto a guy who actually stays home and raises kids, it's always like, oh, why can't you get a job, you lazy bum, kind of like first mentality, status there. And then yeah, for stay-at-home mothers, I could see where in an HR field, I could see where you have those thoughts, where those things would rise from. Going back over the article there, there were a number of things that she brought up that I'm like, do kind of need to be brought up, because yeah, even as we've already kind of touched upon, is especially when it's talking about the mother staying at home, there are a lot of times, or a number of times, where the husband's like, well, I'm paying for everything, so why can't you just jump when I say jump? Or what are you doing sitting on the couch with five sick kids? How dare you? And so there's also the thing of where there's mothers and fathers who decide to stay home and are Peggy Bundys and eat bonbons and throw cigarettes in the salad. All right. So that they're, but what got me, and what I think was my personal like angst against reading some of the comments that Jill made, was like, for those that are actually called to the vocation of being a stay-at-home parent, whether it be father or mother, is a really hard and really challenging vocation. All right, it's mentally, it's physically, emotionally, all right, especially if the other half, all right, is coming in with with that attitude and everything, then it's even more emotionally frustrating and abusive, and I think that's more where my angst reading some of the comments was like, hey, wait a second, like, yeah, no, there's definitely enough cockroaches to turn on the light, and we should discuss these things, but like the for those that are really driven to that vocation and everything, they need support, and they, it's not something to be ashamed of, so it's one of those things that, it's a much deeper thing, but and there's a lot of different facets on it, like like a diamond and stuff, but I don't think I don't think we should be judging each book by its cover and just say, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, well, don't you feel unsatisfied, don't you have any passion, don't or you're a stay-at-home dad, what are you, a lazy bum? Like, no, there's a lot of pages and chapters underneath that cover that, I guess, in each individual, is differently in similarities, but so that was more what I took out of those comments and stuff like that. It's a much deeper thing, but for those who are really called to the vocation, they do need support, and they are heroes and everything like that. So that was my 2 cents.
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely agree with you 100%. It is really sometimes more than a full-time job. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Vince.
And maybe it doesn't pay well, but at the same time, I think it can be very, very satisfying, because that's
Yep.
the real legacy a lot of people leave,
Yep.
right? Is their kids and what their kids are going to do. And if you can help your kids to be productive, good citizens in the world, then there's a lot to be said for that.
That pays more than any paycheck in a financial aspect, yeah,
absolutely. And I think some of the other things that you had mentioned, again, we have a lot of stay-at-home moms here, and I would say in general, the moms and dads I know appear, and I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, right? But they appear to have a pretty good relationship, and like knowing some of the guys, I don't think that they would say some of those things. They would not necessarily mistreat their wives in some way, because I think they value what their wives are doing. It was kind of a, these guys are typically successful, and they understand everybody's role in making the family a success as well. So I don't think they would deny the value of the stay-at-home mom. But now I do think that there are people who do that, of course, to your point. But it's a lot of it, I think, is individual personalities as well.
Well, it is absolutely individual personalities, and I know even from myself. God bless you. Sheesh. I know that I've gone through moments when I'm super stressed because of work, and Jeanette's stressed because of the things at home, that we end up, instead of actually trying to help each other through that stress, or just let each other, kind of blow up and then come back and heal. Like, I know I've been guilty of being tempted to even start verbalizing it, and then I catch myself and I'm like, oh, wait. Sorry.
You need to pull back. Yes. Yeah.
Yellow flag, it's like, wait.
Yeah.
So, even a virtuous guy, I'm not that virtuous. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying even for a virtuous guy, all right, there are going to be times where, that thermometer just burst open, the mercury goes out, and it's like, oh shit, all right, now we need a date night, now we need, it's like,
but that's two-sided. That's both sides on that too. Yeah,
definitely. Because the other side of that would be like, well, I stay home all day and I cook and I clean and I teach and I wipe and I clean up snot and whatever. What do? You just go to work and you get to enjoy the world. So like, yeah, that is definitely a double-sided thing. But and that's where it also comes back to, like some of those things that she brought up in there, that it's like, no, we do need to address those in trying to make the marriage, the union, and that relationship, a relationship, not just I'm better, you're down here because you do this, and like, no. It's a relationship. The two hands become one. That's it. If this one starts getting infected while it's attached to the other one, guess what? The whole thing gets infected, and then it's pick up the pieces from there.
Yeah, it's an old thing that I had heard with from Denny Doherty from Mamas and Papas, making having a conversation about the dynamics of the group, which if you know anything about the Mamas and Papas, what that whole situation was, it was a very unique situation. It was he goes into something about it was this big beautiful, on the outside it was this big beautiful cake, and then the inside of the cake was crap. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're driving at there, Vince.
To Vince, to your point too about needing a date night or something along those lines as well. I was talking to again, you guys know I'm married to a Colombian, and she's from Colombia, and there's a different culture that goes on there. That's for our listeners as well, so they understand. But talking to my mother-in-law, she always was the one who cared for the kids, and she was the main breadwinner in the house. And so she would work her butt off all day, and then she would come home and take care of the kids. And we were talking, and she goes, "Oh no, I never left my kids." I go, "Well, don't you think?" Because I was talking about my wife. I said, "Well, we need to have a little break every once in a while for adult time, and to help her feel good about things, right? And like kind of help her to re-energize." And she was like, "Oh no, never." And I was a little surprised by that. But my opinion, and I was kind of surprised that she disagreed, but my opinion is that, when people work hard, whether it's in a factory or in an office or in the home, people need breaks, and I think it's important to take a night or a day or two for a short trip somewhere, and take your wife and say, "Hey, dress up and put on the clothes that make you feel good. Let's go out and have some good food where we don't have to do anything, where people come and wait on us." you know, and you know, it's our time to feel like a king and queen, you know, for a day or two or for a night or whatever, and enjoy and kind of refresh, re-energize, and get ready for what's next.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Chad. Although your mother-in-law there, her disagreement is something to ponder, because like I see it like that's almost impossible. But at the same time, like obviously she proved it's not, and God bless her for that. And you know, I know again though, for me, for Jeanette and I, you know, definitely having those date nights, you know, to not just be away from the stresses and anxieties, but also to try and refocus on us and everything, you know, because like we may see each other and pass each other and talk here or there, but then it's like, hey, we need to get caught up and we need to really, you know, come back. So like having those, and then also having those moments where it's like, oh, okay, hey, you're going to go hang out with the girls and or the women or whatever, like great, because you need that. All right. And it's like we need, you know, to have those moments too. But one of the things I've always been afraid of, and I've always maybe thought too much about, is keeping those in check rather than like, oh, for crying out loud, little Joey just did it again. Guess what? I got to go take a 3-day hunting trip. I need, you know, so it's just like, you know, responsibly and keeping those in check to like when they're actually really needed, and also having those moments where you have the family take the days, you know, because the kids need those days just like we do too. You know, we may not think about it because it's like, well, they're not working 10 hours or they're not doing this, you know, but they're putting up with our shit, you know. You know, so it's like they need those days too. But yeah, it's like my main thing was just like, you know, keeping that in check, because I knew a number of parents. They were blessed with children, but they were still, you know, immature teenagers. So it was like at the first sign of any stress or debacle or, you know, late payment bill setback, it was, I need to go do this. We need to go. And it was just constant, you know, running away and then coming back, you know. But yeah, I mean, God bless your mother-in-law. Like that's, wow.
Yeah, I would say that in general, she's not a real happy woman. I think she's had a extremely tough life and never caught a break at all. So you know, but it's just a different perspective, and it's kind of that old school Colombian mental culture, I think, down there. But yeah, and I agree with you too on the family. Families need the activities as well, you know, whether it's for bonding or for a break or whatever. But a lot of it I look at is it might be for a break, but it really makes the whole family and the mother and father or the parents stronger overall to spend time together. But then with the family, you know, like we do things like we've got a pool there, so you know, a lot of times we'll like plan a day, we'll go out on Saturday and spend the day at the pool, you know, spend a few hours at the pool and have some music on, and you know, maybe go grab some ice cream or something that night, you know. Just kind of depends. Just something, doesn't have to even be real big, but just small things to enjoy, you know. And we've taken beach trips and stuff like that in the past as well, but you know, usually at this point we usually go like more local than kind of grander scale vacations.
What's a vacation, guys? I forget.
Yeah, really. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a second. The guy who has been in how many different states in the last 5 years in this country is talking about a fucking vacation?
Okay, so let's do a little analysis here. Last weekend,
It's still a fucking vacation any way you look at it, bitch.
I drove 2,700 miles to go to South Carolina, pick up my son, go to Ohio, see my other son for his birthday, and then go back to South Carolina, etc. Do you think that driving 2,700 miles in 4 days is a vacation? I mean, I had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong.
You had
I don't, but
tequila.
I think
You
I
had
think you
tequila.
enjoy driving. You enjoy
It's
driving.
your
You
choice, dickhead.
I drove so far, and you had that little smile on your face.
Do you think my week in Denver, by driving 4,000 miles round trip in October, was a vacation?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was.
Some people go by plane, some people go by car.
Dumbass.
Hey, Keith, my heart goes out for you, man.
Fucking guy.
And then yesterday he had a post on Facebook about driving the what is the Intercontinental Highway.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I'll tell this story, even though it's not germane to our particular podcast, but I'll tell you this. This is really funny. I post that picture with just the first line of "should I or shouldn't I?" And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, let me add to that a little bit. So I edit my comment to talk about how much extra miles it would be to drive to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and then drive home from southern Chile. So it was, what was it, 58,000 miles, literally something like that. And then the last line I wrote, the most important line, I wonder if I can get Honda to sponsor the trip. And immediately Facebook tags the post and starts bombarding me with set up a fundraiser.
I thought you were going to say it bombards you with Honda ads.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was gonna say.
Every time someone likes or comments on that post now, Facebook hits me with the set up a fundraiser, start a. I forget what the words are, but for me, I can't even see my post because it's
Go
off.
fund me, most likely.
Yeah. No, they're not. They haven't suggested what kind of fundraiser. They're just saying start a fundraiser right now. It is, but as soon as I use the word sponsor, that's what happened.
That's funny.
It is funny.
It's not surprising at all. I mean, they're on top of this shit. You mention anything in passing, and it's just like, holy Christ! It's like instant almost. You could look up anything, and you get bombarded with shit.
It's absolutely instant because it's not a human finding it. It's an algorithm picking up the words you type.
Sure, it is. It's just like the algorithms ban you. It's bots ban you. It's not your post getting reported by people. People think that no, it's not. These algorithms are broken in these groups, and they're popping people left and right with the bots.
When I download this podcast and I will then upload it to my YouTube channel, and then I'll take the link and I'll post it in our group. And as soon as I post it and I write the words talking about stay-at-home parenting and things like that, I'm going to have it's going to change my feed to certain postings that have to do with the same topic.
Right.
And then once you guys like it or whatever, you watch it, you'll get some things in your feed that very subtly, not so subtly, will crawl in along this topic.
I think you should do it. I think you should do the trip.
God.
I'll do the South American part with you.
Your promise that once I cross the border into Colombia, you're jumping on board.
I'll jump on board. Yep. I'll meet you wherever your car comes in on the ferry.
Can you imagine if I had the audacity to undertake a trip like that with a car that already has 533,000 miles?
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm not sure. The part of the Pan American Highway that I've been on is good. It's like it's real good, but I think that there are parts that aren't so good.
No, the stuff up in Alaska and going through that part of Canada, I hear, is not very good at times at all. Especially, it depends on what time. What the fuck is he got here?
I can't quite read it. Staken. Oh, never mind. We don't want to talk about that.
Something real reason? What, Keith?
Think about
Was
the
that-
algorithms.
oh.
Think about the algorithms, and he's you'll get it. You'll get it.
Wise of you to not say anything so that the camera did not flash to you, Vince. Good job. And for anybody who's watching this this particular show later on, it's an inside joke, but they're not going to tell you.
Exactly.
Where'd Doug go?
I've been wondering that too.
A
Right.
year?
I see him. He's on mute.
Oh, he's on mute. Okay, he's still here.
He's there.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
Doug's been moving around a lot.
Yeah, I think he toured the entire house in its last 40 minutes. So,
I'm here.
are you changing all the batteries in the smoke detectors? Is that what you're doing?
I also cleaned the junk drawers out.
Oh, okay.
He's probably changing all the clocks. Come on, he's got to be changing the clocks.
No, we did that last night. But yeah, no, I cleaned out all the junk drawers. And yes, I fixed like you said, the 2 smoke detectors. So, and I found some rechargeable batteries and started charging them. I put a little thing up on the wall for my wife. So, yeah,
Good job. Good job.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, I know I was gonna say back a while before, I guess the other part of the conversation that we were having of that also, which not necessarily has to deal with dad. Well, it does have to deal with dad, but not necessarily instructing our children. It's just the thing where the woman who wrote the article basically seemed like her opinion was like that the husband might have been forcing her, or just thought that because of her, her being a woman, that she should be the one to stay home as opposed to him. And what we were discussing is just family planning and stuff, and just making sure that, these roles are discussed before you're married. And, and then that takes these issues away. And or if
Right.
you act as a single unit, then there shouldn't be a discussion or an argument or feel like somebody's being put in a box because these things have already been discussed. So that was just my other takeaway, was the way that she wrote it or prefaced it, that was not, in my opinion, the way that it should have been handled, let's say.
Right.
So that was the only other thing that I wanted to mention about the article that we read.
Elise was a stay-at-home mom for I think about 2 years, something like that. She was laid off from her job while pregnant with Sadie. It was not a very good situation, unfortunately. Sadly, we could prove that is part of the reason they fired her, but it absolutely was part of the reason that they fired her. She was a stay-at-home mom, and then she ended up getting a job about 2 years later, working for a property management company, and then moved on to new company. It's not really new. She's been there probably almost 2 years now. I think she's been there actually more than 2 years. Yeah, almost going on 3 now. Been there. So yeah, it definitely put a strain on things, but and it wasn't from lack of trying, for sure. She was constantly trying, but it just wasn't panning out. Eventually, like I said, everything worked out. We've got ourselves in better shape now, besides that, amongst other things that have other major changes that we've made for the betterment of our lives and of our relationship. But everybody goes through those patches, I think, or a lot of people go through those patches, and it does put a strain on things. But it is only the strong survive. Not only, but the strong survive. And when faced with situations that are sometimes bleak like that, you can navigate your way through these situations.
You just killed the audio on everybody, Jason. What happened?
The hell? I'm like, what the hell was that? Didn't even do anything.
Everybody went silent on you all at the same time. Vince is like perplexed. Chad's floored. It was just, we can't top it, Jason. I think we're done. There's nothing left to say.
So anyway, there's been now with a lot of the situation with a lot of people, companies closing and businesses closing and things like that over the last year. A lot of people have unfortunately been forced into this situation, and basically since the world was essentially Thanos by COVID-19 last year, and as things do come back to go back to this adjusted norm that we're heading into, unfortunately, there are situations where some things aren't going to come back, and situations could get dire for some Americans and some other people all over the world. There are new creative ways that people are coming up with to change the situations. I would say probably the 80s and early 90s really led to the rise of work from home because of partially because of the rise of the internet. And led to people's ability to stay home, work from home. And now, I mean, a lot of companies were able to adjust to working from home over the last year. The one big question will be, as we move forward, how are we going to handle these situations?
The answer to your question is the statistics as they currently stand is that 60% of all companies want to develop a hybrid model. 10% want to be home forever, and 30% want everybody back just as it was before. Guess what? 30% of the companies is going to have a huge turnover in about a year because everybody's going to tell them to F off.
I don't know about everybody. I don't know about. I definitely don't know about everybody. I guess we'll wait with bated breath and find out.
Well,
I think
I'd like to see that model broken down though, just a little bit more, because like, you know, perhaps the majority of that 30% that want to see a status quo are the types of jobs and faculties that you need boots on the ground. Like there is no option for somebody to stay in front of a computer to clean an entire, you know, hospital. You know what I mean? Not yet anyway, until we get robotics up to our. So I'd like to see a little bit more detailed of a breakdown on that, but maybe something for another time.
The survey is not about companies that we're always frontline, we're always essential. This is about companies that where they had to change their model to allowing everybody to work from home during the pandemic and how they would handle things afterwards. There's a lot of companies out there, distribution, warehousing, transportation, that never changed. They're not part of the survey. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the shift.
yeah. A lot of the places over here, anyway, though, that have the boots on the ground, the warehouses, actually a big one. Even the hospitals and everything, they did do a lot of changes where they weren't working, the 70 plus hours. Now, some of that was because the logistics were all screwed up because of deliveries and manufacturing and everything like that. But I don't know. I just, like I said, it'd be nice to see a little bit more detailed of a survey. So to kind of break down all the different
They should do it in
areas.
healthcare, because
So-
healthcare got hit really hard from this pandemic. It really did.
Yeah, I know it did.
Whose
What
voice?
did you say? I didn't hear everything.
Sorry.
that
Woman's voice.
that was the angel in the bedroom here.
What did she? I didn't hear everything she said. What did she say?
Go ahead, baby.
Oh, the hospitals did really get hit hard with this whole entire pandemic, along with your ambulance services.
Yes. Yes, I have
So
a friend who.
definitely be a big part of that survey that's coming out. Even though we were able to work throughout the pandemic, it was a very hard hit on our system, especially employee wise.
Oh, the survey has nothing to do with how hard anyone was hit by it. And we definitely recognize that the frontline workers and the essential workers were hit harder because they were obviously exposed more than people who got to go home and hide, like me, for instance.
It's funny.
The survey is purely about the companies that had to adjust like that and had the ability to adjust to sending everybody home. What are those companies thinking of doing in the future when it comes to what will their workplace be like once the pandemic ends? So I don't, the survey didn't have.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with us. I mean, we had to reform our whole entire medical system. I mean, if you look at the hospitals and even the ambulance this pandemic to where it is now, I mean, everything got reformed. It's not just the businesses who had to send their employees home. It's every business that got affected by this.
Yeah.
I believe we are all in agreement about that, and there's nobody who denies that. Anyway, we're not completely off the track. It's great.
Hey, at least we made it to the tail end of the show this week. Before we
happened?
detailed.
I missed it. Did I miss something last week that was ugly?
No, I
No,
mean,
we didn't even come
as far
close.
as-
We didn't even come close to the end of the show before we were off the rails. We went on the vacation. We made the left turn and went into the brick wall on the vacation thing.
I got to go back and listen to that again.
That Keith denies that he actually took, that we all know that he took. So whether he wants to admit it's a vacation or not, it was a fucking vacation. Jesus.
Every time I get into my car, it's a vacation. It's fun.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add as we really push close to an hour here?
I think you're clear to go there, Jason. Take us home.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Are Chad and Doug basically completely off mic now?
I'm back on. I should be on.
Doug's on.
Doug
I
was
don't know
putting stuff in a cabinet, so I'm not 100% sure if he's there. But guys, anything else you want to add? Or
We'll
I
take
guess
that.
we're
good.
Nope.
This was an interesting discussion. This actually went quite different than I thought it would be, and there was a lot more agreement than I figured there would. The stay-at-home mom thing is it definitely has gone through major changes over the years. all the way back to stay-at-home moms probably obviously go all the way back. But it definitely has been through many evolutions, many changes over the years. And will continue to change in the future. There has been, I would say, more of a change in that situation over the last, I would say, probably 20 years or so, towards men taking that role more often. The one thing that is absolutely for certain is being a stay-at-home parent is more than a full-time job. And they absolutely 100% are essentially heroes. They do more for their families than some are willing to admit. And it's a 24/7 job. And most of them, for the most part, will go above and beyond their call of duty. So, for all of us here at Dad's on Life, so long, everybody.
Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Take care, guys.
See you all next week.
Catch you later.